Hi guys, I'm Dominic Vose and this is Dragonheart.
Hello, I'm Mark Thamora Griffiths, and with me is Neil Pichichi Williams. I thought I'd go for the older Spanish. What's flattering, Neil? It's flattering, honest.
I hope so, Mark.
Yeah, Pichichi's the award they give in Spain for the top scorer.
Oh, right, okay.
So there you go.
At least it's not El Porco like normal.
No, I called you El Porco, which you felt was something insulting, although it is referencing your porcine farming skills rather than your figure, which is anything but porky. I mean, in that regard, there's only one El Porco around here, isn't there? Let's be honest. I am El Gordo, the fat. And I'm not going to have anyone disagree with me on that. I'm undisputed champion in that realm. But regardless of my physical prowess, it's got to be said, how about this for a smooth segue? This has been a brilliant week for Wrexham.
Looking good. Looking good.
I mean, the win on Saturday, and then Notts County lose at home unexpectedly, and then we win again on Tuesday. I mean, well, first things first, things just couldn't go any better, could they?
No, I mean, we had a tough game on Saturday, didn't we, against Scunthorpe and
Dorking.
We were sorry?
Dorking,
sorry, yes. It was Scunthorpe the following Tuesday, wasn't it? Dorking.
Yeah.
And to me, they didn't even look like getting out of second gear, to be honest. Saving the reserve, started with a different lineup to normal, which is great, resting a few players, and we were comfortable. 3 good goals, and then let a scrappy goal in for them to get a goal back. More than happy with Saturday. Again, Tuesday, big game against Chesterfield. Nervous game, nervous to have been all season. And to be fair, the lads turned on a show, worked hard. Every player put in a shift, came away with the result. Again, conceded a very, very late goal, which I'm sure they're all a bit disappointed about. But on the whole, you couldn't ask for anything more. 3 home games, 3 wins. County losing on Saturday, which was totally out of the blue, considering they took the lead. And Mark were top of the league with a game in hand.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it? And Notts County have a tough game on Saturday at Bromley, although, to be fair, Maidenhead tend to take results off us. And then a week on Tuesday, we go to Dagenham. And let's not forget, we lost 3-0 the last 2 times we've been there, and they seem to beat Notts County. So I just feel like if we can get through this period to next Tuesday, then we will put ourselves in if we can win both those games, certainly with the possibility of County dropping points, we'll be in a hell of a position.
Yeah, because we've got Southend at home then on the Saturday, and then it goes back to a 1 game a week rather than we've played 3 games in 10 days.
Yeah, 8 days, isn't it?
8 days. So it's
and we've been doing that.
It is physically tough on the players, isn't it? So, but every team's in the same boat. Yeah, as you say, if we can get through those 2 games, Maidenhead away and Dagenham away, both again will be tough games. But Maidenhead beat Dagenham last night. Was it 3-1?
Yeah.
So none of them are going to be easy games. Maidenhead are quite a way off the playoffs, so for them, where Dagenham are 3 or 4 points outside the playoffs, so they'll have far more to play for. But I just think we've got it in this squad, Mark, to win both those games. And his tactics have been right in every game we've played. Even the Aldershot game away, where we came back with the 3 points after conceding a late goal against Aldershot in the 89th minute. We go on and win it in the 90+6 with Derby with a superb header. We've just got the players on the pitch, and you can see them out there wanting to win the games, and they love the atmosphere at the racecourse last night. Great atmosphere there, I thought Chesterfield fans were very quiet, but Wrexham fans were very loud, and I'm sure there'll be great following away on Tuesday at Maidenhead.
Well, I mean, you were saying about getting everything right, and mentioning Dalby as well. I mean, I thought it was really interesting the way that they, in a way, it's natural to take Tuesday's game and last Saturday's game as a pair. As you said, we sort of beat Dorking without necessarily getting out of second gear. And there was really mixed reaction to that. Some people were quite disappointed. Other people were saying, well, it's good to keep your powder dry for Tuesday. And then he picked the same team, which maybe caught a few people out. So Cannon kept his place, Dalby kept his place. They weren't being rotated in. They were being given their chance. And both of them in both matches, I mean, more than grasped that opportunity, didn't they?
Oh, yeah. If we're going to win this league, Mark, we need to rotate the players. And it's great that Sam Dalby and Cannon have had, a lot more match time than they have had recently. And they, Cannon stepped up well to the last couple of games. He's been awesome in midfield. And Dalby's been very, very good up as a striker. So, we can't complain. He scored, 4 goals in 6 games, I think he's saying. So, he's adding to the goal tally. As long as we keep winning and we can rotate the team and, players that are coming on the pitch as subs are as good as the players going off, then we shouldn't be worrying about a lot. But, the end is in sight.
Yeah, that's true. And a sign of how they kept players fresh. I mean, both Cannon and Dalby starting their 3rd league games of the season, which is quite striking, especially with Dalby because he's been so involved. But clearly that freshness is there, isn't it? And he still has other areas of the squad he can explore. He's got players coming back from injury like O'Connell and Davis, so we seem in a very good position, don't we?
Yeah, all we need now is a couple more O'Connor to come back. I don't know how long that's going to be, and our other defender. For the life of me, I can't think of his name right now. Hayden, yeah. If we can get if he can come back within, for the last month of the season, that'd be ideal.
Yeah.
And I thought our game in hand on County, our other game in hand, was the Yeovil game, which is later in April, but. I believe County are not playing next Tuesday, so
I think it's a bit complicated. I think it's all about when games are getting rearranged because actually, ironically, I mean, I've been thinking all along about next Tuesday is the point when we go level with games with them, which is true.
We do.
But the Tuesday after, they're playing, and we're not. So they'll have a game extra again. So it's just when rearranged fixtures have happened to crop up, isn't it, really?
I say as long as we can keep that one step ahead of County now, still we got that one game in hand. We've got to win both Saturday and Tuesday to stay in front of them, and they've got games. Or they've got a game away, you say, at Bromley on Saturday. But ideally, come this time next week, we could hopefully be 4 points ahead of them. And as long as we can keep that gap going, and keep ahead of them, the pressure will be on them to keep up with us. And then the big weekend will be the Easter weekend when we play Halifax away, and then County at home then on Bank Holiday Monday. And I think that'll be maybe the title decider.
The reason I'm El Gordo is because I'm much more selfish and greedy than you, because I want us to be 7 points clear. Because if they drop points at Bromley, then we can open up an even bigger gap, which I like the sound of. So
I don't agree with you, but we've got all we can look at is our own fixtures at the moment. Regardless of what County do.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Parky's telling that to the players. Concentrate on your own game. Don't worry about what County are doing. As long as we keep winning, they can't catch us.
Yeah. I was curious as well to see that after County lost, that their manager gave an interview in which he was saying he was devastated. And he's going to have to try to pick himself up so we can help the team to prepare. Now, you wonder sometimes why people say stuff, but, they may not be true. It might just be an emotional reaction. But it felt like a very odd thing to put out there in public for his players to see. I can't imagine when our long unbeaten run ends, that Parkinson will react like that. I'm sure he'll just be saying, well, okay, now we start another unbeaten run. It's just one game.
Yeah. It's like accepting the defeat, really, that they're out of the title chase. That's how it would come across to me as a player if he said that to, and to the fans maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I find that so odd. Okay, the next game but one is a home to Dorking, and they will massively fancy their chances of that. But
Dorking were a good team. They were a good footballing team, and they've unfortunately slipped into the relegation zone as we speak.
Yeah. I like Dorking a lot, and I think they've got the capabilities to surprise people. They did beat County earlier in the season, of course, but I'm sort of thinking that, if you're going to react like he did then, talk about being devastated and having to lift himself before he lifts the team, well, if you're playing Dorking next, maybe fine. Maybe you don't have to do a lot of motivating, but you're playing Bromley away next. That's not what I want to hear when I'm about to prepare for one of the most difficult physical tests and just in terms of football, toughest tests of the season on an artificial pitch, something which I don't think really matters that much, but it seems that some players do allow to get into their heads. That's not, I could be wrong. They could go there and win 5-0, but I'm kind of hoping that they might have their wobble now and they can't afford to wobble the way we're playing.
No, they can't. They can't slip up anymore. Otherwise, it will be race over, and Wrexham could be champions come Easter, maybe even before Easter.
Yeah, I for a while hoped that Easter Monday game we're all building up to would be more of a coronation than a crunch match, if I'm honest with you.
The icing on top of the cake, basically.
Exactly, I'd love that. But my wife was saying to me, we've got Notts County still to play, in a sort of more trepidatious tone, and I was saying, but for me, that's a good thing. They've got to come to our place. We're 1 point clear. We could make it up to 4 without them being able to do anything about it, and then we could make it up to 7 simply by beating them at home. I think that's a fantastic position to be in, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Look back to last season when Stockport came to the racecourse in both the cup and in the league, and we annihilated them in both games. And I think we raised our games for both those games, and we've got the quality of players who can do that all the time.
Absolutely. Speaking of quality of players, I just had to mention another person who over these 2 games was astonishing. Elliot Lee, he can play football, can't he?
Oh, you couldn't ask for better goals than what he scored. The position he's hit them from, the curl on the ball, his position. It's a shame we didn't get that header as well. That would be nice. Luke Young could have a headed goal last night. Elliot Lee hit the bar.
Yeah.
Mullin had 2 normal goals he just scored, saved by the keeper. I've been reading, Chesterfield fans are a bit unhappy that they think, they should have had at least a draw because they were back, good enough for a draw. And I think, well, we were watching the same game as we were watching, really. You had 2 chances, really. Well, 3, apart from Leighton's, fantastic save.
I totally agree. I mean, don't get me wrong. I thought Chesterfield looked a good team, and it's bewildering they've not won in 9 now, because clearly they got quality and clearly they can turn up in a match like that. But they were second best, and I'm not trying to say that in a crowing manner. Just that I thought they, in patches, showed real promise and quality, but we showed that quality consistently throughout the game. The 2 chances you refer to in the first half were both the 2 times they managed to break through our press on the breakaway. Obviously, that's good football too. But when they were getting us under pressure, they weren't creating chances. No, I thought we were terrifically, much better than them. Although I thought they looked good too.
Yeah, I mean, Leighton made that spectacular save. I think the only other save that he did make was when it was hit straight at him and he went down and just picked it up off the floor. So, they didn't offer an awful lot in front of goal for us, where we were, every time we went forward last night, you felt that we could score. Just our finishing was a bit off last night. Mullin will be disappointed he hasn't kept his continuous goal scoring at home. But again, he'd be happy because, Derby and Lee scored. So the team won. That's all that matters, I think, with this team.
Absolutely right. And then, just to make it an even more perfect Sunday, the women's team are now within a hair's breadth of winning their league and getting promoted to the top level of Welsh women's football. They went to Connors Key Nomads and, well, heck of a tussle. I mean, it is between the 2 of them. And a draw would have left us in a strong position to win the league. We went ahead. They equalised, and then we got 2 goals in extra time, in injury time at the end of the match to win it. It's just fantastic to see them coming through and to see both the men's and the women's sides thriving like this, isn't it?
Yeah, considering the women's team's only been going, what is this a 3rd season now?
I think, strictly speaking, in its current iteration, it's a second season.
Second season. So, to win yes, we've brought some players in, but for them to, after 2 seasons of being together as a team, to win, they won the league last year as well, didn't they?
Yeah, second last year, weren't they?
Second. And to win the league this season, in 2 seasons, shows you the depth that they've got in their squad and the quality they've got in their squad as well. As you said, we tried to get there to try and do commentary on the game, but couldn't get there because of whatever issues, which would have been nice to be commentating on the women's game. I know we did it at the racecourse and in lockdown, which was, real eye-opener watching them playing at the racecourse. I think they played Norfolk Hall and they won like 6-0 or whatever. But, it would have been good to cover the women's game for a change as well.
Well, absolutely. Well, let's deliver on that now, shall we then? Because Bill Long and I were able to catch up with Steve Dale. This interview's recorded before that match, but we tried not to make reference to it. But just to reiterate the team's position, they've now got 2 games left, away to Rill and then at home again to Connors Quay Nomads. 1 point will mean that Connors Quay can only finish level with us. I'm so sorry. I was trying to fend that off. Sorry about that. 1 more point out of those 2 games will mean that Connors Quay can only finish level with us. And if they do, our goal difference is now over 20 goals better than theirs. So essentially, for Connors Quay to win the league now, we're going to have to draw at Rill and then lose by more than 10 goals at home to Connors Quay. So that does look like, it's looking rather good, shall I say. So,
do we have plans to play that final game against Connors Quay at the racecourse at all, or not? No?
I don't think so, because they're concerned about the state of the pitch at the racecourse. So they're working on it non-stop with the artificial lights, and I think that's the issue. I think nice. Oh, it'd be lovely, wouldn't it? But they wouldn't want to jeopardise the men's team's chances of going up. So, at the moment, that's how it stands. But, so let's have a listen to what Steve Dale, the nearly victorious women's manager, has to say.
I'm Harry Lennon, and this is Dragonheart.
So for this episode of Dragonheart, we're joined by Steve Dale. Steve, thanks for joining us. You may have heard the preview for the women's match that happened previously. We can't talk about that because we're recording this beforehand, but congratulations or commiserations on the game on Sunday. Steve, tell us a little bit about yourself before we get started.
Thanks for having me. It's really, really honoured to be here and obviously to share a little bit of insight about the women's team with yourselves this afternoon. So my name is Steve Dale. So I've been Wrexham AFC Women's manager for just over a year now. I suppose going back, obviously every young boy's dream or girl's dream is to obviously be a footballer. That didn't happen for me, and then I've sort of got to give my dad a lot of credit, really, in terms of steering me on the coaching pathway, really, because he was my coach at a young age, and he was all right at it, to be fair, and he sort of guided me along that sort of route, and so I've not looked back since. Really, I've been involved, at grassroots level. Started volunteering at Liverpool Ladies Girls Centre of Excellence just after I turned 18, and then it sort of went from there, really. I got offered a role within one of the age groups, and then eventually worked my way across to Wrexham, working with the Boys Centre of Excellence, and then with my day job, the Community Trust Foundation as well. There was obviously girls and boys sessions that I got involved in, and worked my way up through the age groups there. So I coached the under-8s girls and the under-16 girls in the Player Performance Centre, and then decided to go in as assistant manager a few years back, and sort of ended up taking the role as women's manager. So it's been an exciting pathway so far.
Sounds it. I mean, it must be a really enjoyable job. Is it as stressful or as enjoyable as you'd imagined it to be, or?
To be fair, when I first started, it was more the development side. So working with obviously the younger players, and my role was to play a part in their development to get them ready for reserve team football and obviously first team football beyond that. Really enjoyed that, working with a variety of different age groups. You pick up a lot of experience, and you learn a lot as a coach, really. And then so obviously taking the role in with the women's team. There's days where it can be quite stressful. You've got headaches to make in terms of selection. You've got injuries ramping up. Do you need to go and sign someone? And then obviously the build up to big games is obviously. You obviously have a couple of nights where you might think, you might overthink things, and a few sleepless nights, really. So no, but it's enjoyable. So
yeah, I mean, I think it's bad enough being a fan, Mark, isn't it? Before a big game, but what's that preparation like in the couple of days beforehand for yourself as much as anything? Do you got any rituals or routines that you go through?
We just try and sort of keep everything the same, really. We don't try and change too much. So like a Thursday night is always an analysis night, so we always get the opportunity to look at the opposition from a previous game. So obviously the players then are obviously prepped that way. The Friday, I tend to try and switch off as much as I can. Obviously, with the community trust job, you're in schools and things like that during the day. You don't really have time to think about anything else. And then as soon as Friday night coming into Saturday morning, that's when you obviously start to turn your attention more towards the games. And then, the ritual's sort of the same. We always meet at the same time in terms of whether we're at home or away. We make sure that everything's prepared, kit-wise and things like that, and we go from there, really.
Is it you mentioned the analysis on a Thursday? Is there a lot of footage available for the women's game, or is that something that's developing more than actually being available at the moment?
Yeah, so it's one of those we tend to keep it to ourselves because we don't want to give too much away in terms
of course,
giving the opposition the upper hand. So obviously every game that we play, whether we're home or away, we take the camera with us. We film the game, and then as staff we sit down and sort of analyse what went well, what needs improvement, and obviously where we can sort of target the opposition and play to their weaknesses, really.
Something's just gone weird with my... Oh no, never mind, it's back. Sorry. I thought the sound had cut for a second then, sorry. I have to cut that out, Mark.
Will do, sir.
I'm thrown now, Mark. You're going to have to go next because I have.
Did you get your coaching badges in the Welsh system, the English system?
So I started in the English system. So I'm originally from England, grew up in Warrington, not too far away though. So, and then eventually obviously had the opportunity to move over to Wrexham. Obviously my partner lives here as well now. So, we've got a family together and we live in Bangor-on-Dee now, so we're very much part of the Welsh family now. We've been here long enough, so we sort of adopted Welsh now, and so I started in England, got my first 2 qualifications in England, and then moved across to the Welsh. So currently start my UEFA A licence in April, so something to look forward to.
Oh, brilliant! I was asking because obviously the Welsh system has got a really good reputation. A lot of high-profile players, ex-players, have come across to do their coaching in the Welsh system because it's so well thought of.
Yeah.
And it also, I guess, gives you an opportunity to look as well at how the Welsh women's game is developing as well. It's still in its early stages in many ways, but it must be exciting to get that insight into something which is clearly going to explode.
Absolutely, and you've only got to look at obviously the Lionesses, winning the Euros. So yes, it's a different nation, but you've got to think, the amount of girls now that are interested in football. So you've only got to look at our soccer schools over the week. We've had 3 days of soccer schools, and there's more and more girls turning up each time. So it is something that's on the rise in Wales, and obviously you're going to have to take inspiration from the way that England did it. They obviously took a lot of hard work to get where they are, but they're reaping their rewards now, and I think the way that it's set up in Wales is the success should start to follow over the next few years.
A lot of people will go in to get their badges, and they're probably thinking men's football.
I always think of that question to Phil Neville when he was the England manager. Do you think this will help you to get back into men's football? And the response, quite rightly, was, why do I have to? So, I'm just thinking, it's an important message to make clear to people, young people who are going through getting their coaching badges, that the women's game is a really important growth area and a fantastic thing to get involved in.
Absolutely, and obviously with my sort of background, working at Liverpool, obviously my sister had a decent career playing as well. Unfortunately not playing at the moment, but could change if she wants to come and help her brother out. We've obviously I've grew up around it. Obviously, my sister was miles better than me at football, and she made a decent sort of career out of it. And watching her week in, week out playing at the standard that she did, working with boys and obviously females is obviously different, but the female game is growing, and there's no shame in obviously taking that pathway. It's on the up. There's a lot more publicity on the female game now, and it's they're footballers at the end of the day, and it's making sure that you treat them as footballers. And I think I've really enjoyed working in the female game. And I'm quite comfortable in doing it. I still coach a little bit with the male side as well. But I think they take on a lot more information. You can come across some males that think, well, who are you? You've not played. You don't know what you're talking about. I know best. But it's great to work in the female section because they're so engrossed in sort of the development side and learning from it. So it's an eye opener, but really enjoyable as well.
That doesn't surprise me at all, to be honest with you, because I think when I watch games on TV, men's games on TV, the male pundits tend to be ex-pros who've never then put their money where their mouth is and gone into coaching. Yeah. They don't have any coaching badges, and they're saying the old school football things about showing more effort and throwing another lad up front rather than looking at the game. And then generally the female pundits tend to be coaches who've done their badges, who probably have to fight through quite a lot of barriers to get to be a pundit in a men's game, and therefore are really analytical and really good. And I sort of feel that a bit, men in the men's game, there's a lot of people, fans and people within the game, who just think, I know it all. I know it all. The old-fashioned ways work. Whereas women's football's got a chance to be a bit more that modern sort of coaching technocratic game in a way, isn't it?
Well, you've only got to look at someone like Emma Hayes. Her knowledge and her detail during the games that she was covering, in the Euros and things like that was phenomenal, really. And very successful in what she does. There's a couple of documentaries out there, and I've had a little watch of them, and to see the amount of sort of effort that she puts in and the detail and what her staff as well, they're all on the same page, and they do some incredible work there, and you can see why they're so successful, and especially Emma as well. She's done really well with her role as well. So it's it's always exciting, and it's something that is going to obviously expand as well. More females will start to have that confidence to come into the coaching side, and it's only a matter of time before one of them breaks down those barriers and gets a high profile job. So it's all exciting for the female game at the moment.
I must admit that she's, I think, the best pundit on television by a distance. Absolutely outstanding, and I like the fact that she tells me stuff that I really wouldn't notice, because I feel like a lot of ex-international pros, the male pundits, I'm too busy complaining of what they've not noticed. Whereas she actually, you feel like someone from in the game who talks about it well and actually tells you things you don't know, which is surely the role. I think, it's brilliant that.
Absolutely,
but
definitely.
I mean, it's important to think coaching in the girls' game at the moment, because, and I'm always careful how I put this, because it sounds wrong and it's not meant to be. As it's still a growing sport, you need more players of a certain level to be developed, just to allow there to be more strong teams and so that to give a stronger base to the game, if you will.
Yeah, definitely, and obviously had a little bit of a restructure in terms of the FAW sort of leagues and things like that. They've done it down the male side as well, and you can see why they're doing it. That the intent is there to obviously make the leagues more competitive, but you've only got to look at our league at the moment. There's there's 3 teams in it that are obviously challenging at the top, and then the rest are obviously making up the league. And listen, they're competitive. You know, they do cause you problems, but I think obviously the overall aim is to obviously make the league above the most competitive, because it's seen as the highest sort of level to play at in the women's game. So it's important that we all learn from it and get it right, because then, like you said, you know, the whole level, the whole league will be competitive, and it'd make for more entertainment, really. You know, so there's obviously no disrespect to anyone in the league that we play against, you know, but some clubs are on different parts of their journeys. So you've got the 3 teams that are competing at the top of the league that want to obviously progress and get in, and then there's teams that are comfortable where they are. So it's, you know, it is important that you get the balance right, but you know, it's obviously work in progress, and it's something that will obviously develop as time goes on.
Are there any like major tactical differences when you're coaching women compared to men, or is that something that's just, is it quite similar really?
I think it's the same. I thought obviously you've only got the only thing that's different is obviously the physical capabilities. So yeah, tactically there's a great pathway in terms of obviously the younger girls moving up our performance centre, and then obviously when they get to regionals in terms of the Welsh system as well. So they get the same sort of detail and they get the same sort of messages. Yeah, it's just obviously the differences between the physical side at the moment, but you know, you only got to come and watch a couple of games, and you can obviously identify who are the standout players and what they bring to the team. So yeah, it's something that has improved a lot over the last few years. But yeah, I wouldn't say there was any tactical differences. You can still talk to them as if you were talking to a male player, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think my sort of limited knowledge of other sports, but you look at like the UFC or boxing with Katie Taylor, and when the women get that platform, Ronda Rousey's another example, then it does allow for more funding opportunities for other women within those sports to then go and train professionally or whatever. Does the women's team becoming semi-pro make it a huge difference?
I think so, yeah. I think obviously with that obviously statement coming out the other week, it's another signal of intent of where we want to be as a club. You know, so Rob and Ryan, you've got to take the hats off to the pair of them. They've not just focused on the men's side. You know, they've put a lot of time and effort thinking about the female side. So, you know, giving the female side the same sort of treatment as what the men are getting, it's only going to obviously benefit and make for good viewing in terms of the sort of players you can sort of attract as well. So yeah, it's all exciting at the moment, and I think it's a step in the right direction. And you know, I think when that statement went out, there was a couple of clubs that have obviously made comments on it in terms of you know, high profile ones. You know, we had a couple of tweets from Stoke City ladies fans saying, come on, you should be following suit, Wrexham haven't been going as long as we have, and things like that. And you know, it's gonna improve the game for the better, really.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I am quite ashamed myself at how little I know about women's football, but it's I think for me it's nice seeing you know, my younger nephews and my stepdaughter are going to get that opportunity to be exposed to women's football on the likes of the BBC, or with what, you know, the coverage that Wrexham are getting, and hopefully when they grow up, it's just going to be football. It's not going to matter that it's the men's and the women's game. It's going to be more like tennis and some of the combat sports where it's just fighting, or it's just tennis, it's just football, and people don't really care as much that it's men or women, as long as you can get down to the racecourse and go and watch it, really. Speaking of which, you were involved in the game, the women's game that was at the racecourse, weren't you? How was that?
Yeah, that was pretty special, really. The whole sort of day and the build up to that game. We played a pre-season friendly there against Northup Hall. They actually, you know, filmed the game, had commentary on it, so we were treated like professional footballers on that day. And yeah, it was sort of a reward for all the hard work that goes in behind the scenes as well. And you know, to have that opportunity to play at the racecourse in front of 250 fans is something that obviously you're never going to forget. And it's growing a lot more, and that opportunity to be at the race course is going to happen again. We've just obviously got to be patient with that. But yeah, the next opportunity we get, it could have a good attendance at it again, and it just makes sense, really. And yeah, it's good to showcase the women's team.
I think the clamour for the men's tickets will spill into the women's game as well. I think there's so many people who'd like to just be at the racecourse at the moment that they'll take anything. I think they'd have a team of 11 Wrexham Dragons versus another team of mascots, and people would show up at the moment. I mean, as the attendance has been growing at the women's games recently.
Yeah, I think, we've only got to look at over the season, even, you've got to give people credit, because you go away to some places up the coast and then you see 5, 6, 7, 8 Wrexham shirts start to show up, and, the girls love it, and they appreciate, obviously people coming to watch them. And we obviously spend a little bit of time with those guys after the game, thanking them. Again, they bring their daughters along to watch, and again, the girls get the opportunity to meet the players and things like that. So at home as well, we've had some real good turnouts, and we just hope that that's going to continue, and especially coming into these last 3 games of the season, it could spur us on and give us that little boost that we're going to need as well at times.
It's a lovely atmosphere at the home games as well, not just in terms of going to watch the football, but like you said, you see so many young girls who clearly are looking at the players as their role models. And in fact, it's corny saying, Rosie's quite good at football, but I did notice in the second half, because I was up on the bank in the last home game, that the number of kids who just got a little bit more excited when she was on the ball by there, and you could just see it's there. They want to be her. Yeah. It was fantastic, and that's a nice thing to see, isn't it? To see the young girls who, I'm sure some of them are already in our system, but the young girls who want to be in our system are there and developing that love of the game. Absolutely, and we've touched on it a lot about the increase and obviously the growth of the female game, and yeah, it's great to see. Obviously, the atmosphere after a game is brilliant. It takes them 15-20 minutes to get into the changing room, so you can't really have your team talk. But listen, I haven't got an issue with that. There's no real issues from that as a staff. You just stand there and sort of admire it and take it in, and it's great to see so many people obviously being inspired by our generation. And like you said, they are role models and they are embracing that, and it's only going to get bigger for them. So really important that they obviously get used to it, and it's great to see, and we love it. It's really, really enjoyable to watch. I gotta say as well that the Banks is just a nice place to watch football when it's not freezing cold. But it was just a lot of the time, I admit, because it's got that natural, because of the bank, funnily enough, on one side, it is like a stand. It's lovely, and you get a great view of the game, whereas an awful lot of grounds at that level are just flat and get up near the side of the pitch fine, but you can't get that elevated view. So it's a great place to go to watch football. Absolutely, yeah. And like we said, it's been great to see so many people coming down and watching, and obviously social media blows up as well after a game as well. So many people tweeting that they've come to watch the game, pictures with the players and things like that. So yeah, it does obviously make for good viewing, especially when things are going well on the pitch as well. So we enjoy being there. We've had a really good record there, similar to when we moved last season. We went to Brumbrough Crick. We were a little bit, we're moving away from a 3G. Are we going to be all right? We pretty much went unbeaten there in the league, and it became a bit of a fortress. And we enjoyed playing there as well. So it doesn't really matter where we've played this season. We've sort of just adapted to it and just sort of rolled our sleeves up, and you've got to give the players a lot of credit for that, for the success that they've brought so far. It's a shame in a way that, if we are able to go up, obviously we'll need to satisfy ground regulations for the top level, which is sort of a shame, because I've been itching to bring this up. One of the possibilities, of course, would be European football at some point returning to Wrexham. It's just a shame we wouldn't be able to bring Lyon probably to Ross. No, I'm sure they'd love it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it obviously plays into our hands then, doesn't it? They wouldn't be tied in the second half. They wouldn't be able to play the football they do on their carpet. So no, it's one of them, and we've just got to be grateful to the likes of Brumbo and the likes of Ross for giving us that opportunity to play
at those grounds. And yeah, it's it's something that when you do move up a league, it's the criteria is important, and you have to meet that because the publicity side of it. You have to have gantries, you have to have commentary on the games, possibility of having your games filmed. So yeah, it's you can't really settle anywhere, but it's for the better of the game. But we've appreciated both clubs of giving us the opportunity to play where we have, and you've only got to look at the results, and it shows that we have adapted to it, and we've been quite successful where we've played.
And doing that, being in Roast, being in Brumbo, fits in with your other part of your job, the community outreach, which, as we know, Rob and Ryan see as massively important. So it all fits in. I was sort of trying to suggest that in Dragonheart this week of, the football club Wrexham is not just a city, it's a county. Yeah. And so the women's team are brilliant ambassadors in taking the club to Roast, taking the club to Brumbo. That's a genuinely important thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. And, we were very grateful, really, over the Christmas period. Our women's players were asked to go along with men's first team players to events in and around the local community, like Christmas light switch-ons and things like that. So, to have the likes of Kim Dutton alongside Luke Young, and then you've got your Rosie Hughes alongside another men's player, it gets them out there as well. And, you've got to give the lads credit. They were brilliant with the girls as well, really, ask a lot of questions. You've only got to be around the place on a Monday, and the assistant manager, the goalkeeper coach, the manager, how'd you get on Sunday? Oh, great result, so they're obviously, rooting for us as well, as much as we're rooting for them. So it's great to be a part of the club, and we feel, like we are, so it's great.
And then the plan is to go up. Mm-hmm. The stated plan of Rob and Ryan is to be the strongest team in Welsh football. That's an ambitious plan, but it's always great to be ambitious. And so, see how we can take this, really,
Absolutely. So, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes as well, and it's not just the stuff on the pitch as well, it's off the pitch. You've got to obviously meet criteria. So Gemma Owen is the one who obviously has to do the dreaded paperwork for all that side of it, and credit to her, she's got us the licenses for each year, and she's going through it at the moment for a tier 1 license, and there is a hell of a lot of work to do to meet the standards. So the plan is obviously to win promotion, be comfortable in the tier above, and then from there, we start to build a squad that's obviously going to compete higher up at the higher end of the table. And then the ultimate goal is obviously Champions League football. Bringing that to the racecourse would be unbelievable, wouldn't it? So, why not dream big? Why not have a plan and, ambition to be the best we can? And, it's going to be some journey, and, it's something that the players and the staff have got to relish.
Incredible thought, isn't it? Yeah. It is so exciting.
Yeah, it's you would never have obviously dreamed of it. Obviously, if you look at the English system, the female side of that, they have to work their way up some divisions. We are obviously one division away of having the opportunity to play at that level, and we've obviously got a lot of work to do to get to that standard, and obviously it's something that we're gonna work really hard to achieve. And it's exciting, and it'd be unbelievable to hear that anthem walking out at the racecourse, and it'd make the hairs on the back of your neck stand up, and it's something that we're looking forward to.
In front of a packed double-decker cop.
Exactly. It's the dream, isn't it? It's the dream, definitely. It'd be really exciting. That we look forward to it.
That'd be fantastic, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think a return of European football to the racecourse is something that, if the women's team can bring that, I think you'd get a packed racecourse for that, definitely, especially if you're playing the likes of Lyon or Man City or, some of the other, anyone from Europe. I think if you had the Hajduk Split ladies, if they came, if they've got a team, that would be a big fixture. So fair play. And, there's also that possibility that a player from Wrexham could end up playing for the Wales team way down the line, isn't there? That's something that it'd be great if it happened in the men's. But wow, imagine people who play for Wrexham, who maybe even are from Wrexham, getting into the Wales team.
Absolutely, yes, and obviously it makes sense. We're developing Welsh players, obviously in our own system, with the aim to obviously compete in our first team. But yeah, if they get that opportunity, it'd be fantastic. You know, we've got Lily Jones at the moment, who's under 19s player and who is pretty much one of the first names on the team sheet in the first team as well at 17 years of age is quite remarkable, really. And she's had a really good pathway in terms of the representing her national team. She's very regular in terms of the camps with the under 19s. And that's obviously her next goal, is to obviously step up and make the cut with Wales. And you know, if it is is at Wrexham, then that's something that we're going to be really proud of. And you know, why not? Why can't it be a player from Wrexham representing Wales? So yeah, it's exciting.
And that's another sort of element of just the makeup of the squad. You've got players like Katie Sharp, who's, I think I'm right in saying, started off just as a kid at the fun football sessions, and has then come through to the point where, well, now she's I'm not going to be thanked for saying this, the elder stateswoman in a talented but very young defence. It's lovely to see that sort of thing going on, where somebody gets to represent and be one of our own in the team.
Absolutely, yeah. And you know, it was quite interesting. Katie had a friend over from Australia who started playing with Katie at a young age, and you know, she trained with us for a couple of weeks before she moved back out to Australia. And you know, they were having a chat. They were like, we never got this when we were at this age. You know, if we'd have had it at our age, you know, where could we be now? And so it's great that we can obviously provide that. And you know, Katie, you've got to give her credit. She's been one of the most consistent players this season and had a really good year. And you know, it's been good to see her obviously develop and take on board what we've been asking her to do. And like I say, she's, you know, been very, very consistent this year in her performances, and you know, been one of the standout players.
And I used to teach Kim Dutton, so you can say thank you now, because all those great qualities she's got, it's all down to me, you know.
Yeah.
Obviously. She took one look at me and thought, I'll be the opposite of him, I'll be fine.
Yeah, no, it's, you know, it's great. Kim, obviously, local girl, you know, bleeds for the club. She, you know, goes and watches the men's team week in, week out as well. Goes to away games. You know, she's been in the younger age groups as well. She's worked her way up. You know, funny enough, I coached Kim at the under-16s. You know, in our first season together, we ended up winning the league that year. And, you know, it's great to see, obviously, the young local talent coming through. And, you know, for someone so young, she's been a really good captain.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to look at it. She is only 21, and you forget that sometimes. She's not your typical screamer and shouter, but she's really good within the group. You know, she settles people down, and you know, she's a good captain, you know, to have around the place. So yeah, it's great that we've got the local talent coming through as well.
I know this is an absurd comparison that you're both far too young to remember. I'm probably no one alive can remember now, so I don't know why I'm going to say it, but I'm going to say it. But her captaincy style is very much like when I was a kid, and Nottingham Forest win the the European Cup twice, and their captain, John McGovern, that's what they always used to say about him, that he wasn't a big screamer on the pitch, but he always led by example. He was that sort of brilliant professional, and on the pitch he was always very tidy and did a lot of the things that some people don't notice, but which if you don't have it, you fail. And I feel Kim's a lot like that as a personality, but also as a player. And like you were saying about tactics before, she reads that game well. She's there filling those little gaps if we're going forward, and just aware of where the points of danger are when we got the ball, and she's reading it all, and she's and tidy with the ball, keeping it moving. Yeah, you know, there's some you know.
No, very, very effective. You know, it's just very simple. Get it, give it. You know, and obviously, it's great to have in your team. You know, and like you said, you know, she's not one that's going to go around and, you know, get people going in terms of screaming at them. She knows how to get the best out of people, and you know, it's great to see for someone at a young age. And you know, she leads by example. She's obviously coming into the coaching route as well. She's working with our under-10s at the Performance Centre, so it's great to see the girls having your club captain coaching you. You know, there's obviously a pathway there, and you know, we believe in that pathway. You've only got to look at how many under-19s have represented the first team over the last 2 years, and you know, they've kicked on and made themselves regular starters within the group. So it's something that we're very proud of and will continue to do.
And as you say, there's different ways to get the best out of people. When they see her serious professionalism, you know that she's setting a standard she's expecting others to achieve, and they don't want to let her down. I think that's a brilliant quality in a leader. Sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely agree with what you've just said there. And, you know, different people react in different ways. But, you know, obviously you can see her. She does calm people down. You know, she's quite mature for her age and quite sensible. And, yeah, it's great to have her. And, you know, we've got a lot of good players, you know, lots of different players that can do different things within the team. But, yeah, you need people in there that are going to obviously set standards and make sure that things are doing right, you know. Us as staff expect high standards, and, you know, sometimes you've got to pass that responsibility on to your players to sort of make sure that that's happening in the dressing room as well. And, you know, Kim obviously is outstanding at doing that.
I must admit, whenever I mention John McGovern, like who I was comparing it to, and we were offered the chance to have our show's bumps, and this is a very much an Uncle Griff's bedtime story moment, I'm afraid. So fasten your seatbelt. You brought a pillow. When I was a kid, our school team played in a five-a-side tournament. I think it was in Colwyn Bay. It was somewhere up the coast. I can't remember the games at all because I was so astonished by how posh the interior of the deputy head's car was. He drove us all up there. He had this sort of walnut interior, and it was astonishing. But we won the tournament. My dad came up to watch, and my dad, when it ended, my dad's oh well, we'll go home now. And I just had this feeling in the back of my head. I wanted to stay, but there was no reason. And I said, oh, fair enough. So we went. Yeah. The next day, going to school, and all the rest of them were like, Griff, why didn't you stay? And I said, why not? I said, John McGovern, who at the time was the captain of Forest, the European champions, for some reason turned up in Colwyn Bay. I don't know what, and gave out the medals.
Very random.
It's massively random. I was like, Dad, what the heck? The current captain of the European champions gave out the medals, and you took us home for fish fingers. Yeah. What the heck? I was heartbroken.
Nightmare.
I'll tell you what.
Well, hopefully we'll have a current captain from the women's team handing out medals who is a European champion in a couple of years' time.
It's a dream, isn't it? Definitely, yeah.
Well, Steve, it was an absolute pleasure speaking to you. Thanks very much for coming. And after this, we'll be talking about something else.
So, Steve Dale, lovely bloke. And we'll have to have him on again, hopefully with his winner's medal to show off to us. But yeah, sparkling week for Wrexham. The men's team, 2 huge wins. Notts County dropped points. And then the women's team so close now after winning such a massive away match to claiming the title. It's a good time to be a Wrexham fan, Neil.
It certainly is, you know. I still keep pinching myself to think, is this real, you know, because of where we are now, you know. I mean, last season was a good season, Mark, but I think this season is going to be a great season. I think, you know, all the fans out there have the same feeling, you know, that this hopefully is our year. And
you've got your Kings of Leon tattoo ready as well, haven't you?
Oh, of course, yes, right across my back.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Well, Neil, it's always a pleasure to speak to you and to sneeze at you as well, which I've managed to do successfully today. But yeah, great stuff. And let's hope Wrexham can maintain this momentum. And when we speak next week, we're reflecting on an even better situation. So I'm Mark Griffiths. He's Neil Williams. This is Dragonheart.
I'm Aaron Hayden, and this is Dragonheart.